Welcome back. Today we're taking a look at rats and some tips and tricks to drawing them. I don't paint rats that often, but I recently did a small game pitch where a rat was the main character, and I found I really enjoyed painting them. One of the pages for the pitch that I did was a collection of studies which I decided to take further and paint for this video. But before we jump into the speed paint, let's take a quick look at some important shapes. Starting with the body, I found it helpful to think of the shape the same way that animators think of the flour sack exercise, with the top of the bag being a lighter and more mobile piece, while the base is heavier and rounder. However, if you're the sort of person who uses the bean method for drawing anatomy, then you might find that easier to start with. For the rat's head, I find there is a scale between a mouse and a rat that can be played around with. A cuter, more mouse-like appearance tends to have a clearer distinction between the head and the snout, while a rattier face has a smoother curve straight from the brow down to the nose. It's worth mentioning as well that in real life, the main difference between a mouse and a rat has to do with the length of the snout rather than the actual shape of it. A longer and bigger snout with smaller ears is what I find really makes a rat look like a rat. Other than those two main details, it can be useful to think of the hand as a stretched out human one and the ears as a piece of paper pinched together at the base. With that covered, let's get started with the speed paint. I feel like with every new video, I increase the number of poses I draw, and this one is no exception. Almost every sketch turned out exactly how I wanted it to, so I just kept adding more. One of those rare art days where your hand and brain totally understand each other. Overall, my approach to these sketches was pretty simple. I start with the head, as I find rats tend to move in a very head-first sort of way, sticking their necks out to start the movement before the rest of the body follows. For the body, I relied a lot on that flour sack shape and the silhouette of each pose. In particular, I found the sharp dip between the lower back and the neck to be very pleasing to draw. You can really push that contrast and even bring in some sharp geometric shape language in to make things a little more interesting to look at. At this stage, I kept the hand and feet pretty simple, as I try not to let myself linger on one sketch for too long, if I can help it, as I find that I tend to lose momentum that way. My line art for this was done with two clear intentions in mind: maintaining the movement from my sketches and experimenting with a more graphic line weight style. I'm not sure the line weight looks any different from my usual style in the end, but I definitely managed to avoid adding any unwanted stiffness to the poses. If you're wondering why I fill my rats in green in between every line art, it's because I like to check that my silhouette is still working before I move on to the next one. I find green stands out the easiest for me. Colour is where I really put the focus this time. I wanted to paint these rats with intention rather than falling into the same automatic processes I usually follow. I looked at a lot of rendering for comic book covers and Lay & Decker artworks for this, as well as a large amount of dramatic photography to study how light interacts with shadow. I also took the time to make a series of images breaking down the process, which I'll throw in at the end for you to screenshot. They can also be found on my Instagram and Tumblr if you prefer. Basically, I broke it down into layers, not unlike the way you might paint something traditionally. I started with a wash of simple colours and a multiply layer to get a very quick and dirty shadow and hue block out. Then I merged that down and started painting on top. With the second layer, I rely a lot on the lasso tool to start sharpening my edges and bringing in the details of fur. After that, I go in with the same two brushes I've mentioned in past videos, a chalky oval brush and a triangular brush that paints two lines in different sizes. I use these to begin blending the lights and shadows with the midtones, as well as adding some depth to the fur. I continue this with two other layers, getting smaller and more defined as I go. At the very end, I use a multiply layer and a very subtle brush to push some extra contrast at the edges of my shadows. I do apologise for all the flickering between layers. I've tried to edit it so that it's not too distracting to look at, but the fact is I spent a lot of time checking that my layers were all working individually. Usually at this point I do a quick demo on stylizing the animal we drew, but this video is getting a little longer than I anticipated, so I think I'll skip it for this one. That said, if you guys really want me to never skip it again, you can just let me know and I'll ignore the fact that the videos are getting a bit longer. Hopefully this quick draw over can provide some useful insight into how I used the flower sac shape to construct the body. And as promised, here's a quick breakdown of how I did the colours in slides. You're welcome to screenshot them, but they're also up on most of my socials. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Hopefully this video was helpful for someone, and if it was, feel free to tag me in your results because I'd love to see them.